It is truly one of the most unexpected things you would ever see sandwiched between modern skyscrapers. A sea of white marble crosses where Americans are buried, lined up in formation on 150 green grassy acres right here in the middle of a business district in the Philippines, where thousands of men and women go to work every day.
When this area was opened up, we see the little crosses, and so I got interested with, oh, what is this in the middle of Manila?
This is the Manila American Cemetery, an oasis of peace and reverence in a thriving metropolis of 13 million people. Some 17,000 U.S. service members from World War II are interred here. Their stone markers so far from home, few of their American families ever get the chance to come see this in person. Why exactly is this the final resting place for so many Americans located here in Southeast Asia of all places? How many of these reverent resting grounds for American heroes exist all around the world? And what's being done to protect, honor, and maintain these hallowed fields? For this Veterans Day, we are taking you here, more than 7,000 miles from mainland USA to Manila, to the most unexpected, pristine, beautiful cemetery we've ever seen, to learn a little about the selfless American men and women who forever rest here. Manila, in the Philippines. This is a city devoid of silence and solitude. You just can't have a lot of that when there are millions of people overpopulating a small delta. There's traffic congestion, pollution, and all the other problems that come with masses of men and women piled into a small place. But it turns out there is a secret garden within this concrete jungle. One wide open spot amid the buildings and businesses and hustle and bustle that people can turn to reflect and find peace and quiet and remember.
It's known for its greenery, its beauty, and it's the most well-maintained site in the Philippines as we speak.
We have very few parks in Manila, so you want to go to a nice park, then this is the place you go.
But it is so much more than a park. This is the final resting place of American service members, men and women who never got to go home. They now occupy the largest number of graves of the military dead from World War II. Imagine losing a loved one at war and never having the opportunity to come visit their gravesite in person. That's the case for thousands of Americans whose loved ones from World War II are buried here at the Manila American Cemetery in the Philippines. It turns out in the years immediately after World War II, a war that left about 407,000 U.S. service members dead, families had a choice. Have the U.S. government bring the bodies of their loved ones back home to the U.S., or just have them buried here on foreign soil, near the battlefields where they fell. Tens of thousands of families opted to keep those soldiers and sailors overseas, where they could be interred near their battle buddies. It's why there are 26 of these American cemeteries all around the world, run by the American Battle Monuments Commission. We have a link with more information about these American cemeteries in Europe and Africa and here in Asia in the video description below. They are far-flung places, often hard to get to, if not impossible, for loved ones.
Very few family members that make the trip just due to the long distance and the expanse. And occasionally we had a sister here this last week, and she was in her late 80s. She had a brother that was buried here, and she was one of the lucky ones that her son and daughter, who were just retiring, took the opportunity to bring the mother over and asked her to see the brother's grave. She was complete once she visited the gravesite.
Most of those buried here lost their lives in operations in New Guinea and the Philippines during World War II. Those who fought in the Pacific and China and India and Burma are honored here as well. And aside from those 17,000 crosses, get this, there are another 36,000 names etched on the tablets of the missing. 36,000 Americans, soldiers and sailors, whose bodies 80 years later have never been found and probably never will.
They were on ships, they were on aircraft that went down, and their remains that they were basically lost at sea, a lot of the 36,000.
really does start to sink in, the service and the sacrifice and the selflessness, when you see a place like this. Young men and women, many of them just teenagers at the time, willing to put their lives on the line for the cause of freedom all around the world, only to die in a strange land, thousands of miles from America, leaving so many broken hearts back home. Guys like Elmer Fryer, he actually put his body between a sniper and the rest of his company of soldiers to save their lives. He was killed, but not before killing his killer with a hand grenade. Actions that earned him the Medal of Honor.
Well, we have 29 Medal of Honor winners, either buried or memorialized here, and he's one of them.
This really is a sea of heroes whose presence and significance isn't lost on those who live here in Manila.
It's a memorial to the soldiers who died in the war.
Adelquin Beltran lives in this city and says our countries are seemingly intertwined.
We're a very Americanized country. You know, it's like we're already a part of America.
Coming here reminds her of the close relationship between America and the Philippines during World War II and after.
People who come from the U.S., I always bring them here. It's one of the nicest places to bring them, plus it's very historical.
Look, there is a lot to do in a place like Manila, and if you ever get to come to this city, you are lucky. Despite the tenements and the poverty and the overcrowding and the pollution and all its other problems, it is an amazing place. But if you come here, there's really one place you absolutely have to visit, and this is it. 150 acres of reverence and remembrance tucked in between modern buildings and the hustle and bustle of city life. These are Americans buried here, and on this Veterans Day, and really every day, it's important to remember their service. These men and women literally helped save the world 8 decades ago. And sure, their physical remains are interred thousands of miles from home, but it's up to us to make sure their memory is always close in our minds and hearts.